Hi, everybody. I'm Connie Joe, Western astrologer for 20 plus years. And today I want to talk to you about Chiron, Chiron the asteroid, Chiron in our charts, also known as the wounded healer. And stick around to the end because I have a couple of secrets to tell you about Chiron. And one of them I just found out about myself a couple of days ago, and it is so cool. So, who was Chiron? What does that mean for us? Chiron is a symbol in your chart that is shaped like a key, and it actually is the key not only to healing ourselves, but how we can heal others. So it's the key to the healing in our chart. So Chiron, when it was discovered, what they thought it was a comet. Then they changed it to an asteroid, and now it's considered a dwarf planet. But it has this really wonky orbit. It orbits somewhere between Saturn and Uranus. Couldn't be two different planets to orbit in between, which is part of the beauty of Chiron. So it takes Chiron approximately 50 years to circle the zodiac. And the crazy thing is that it doesn't stay the equal amount of time in each sign. Like, for instance, Pisces, it stays for a really long time, and Virgo, it doesn't stay but a little over a year. And we are going to go through the signs today, but next week I want to go through the houses, which makes it just a little bit more personal. So, what sign Chiron is in and the ruler of that sign also count. Let me just tell you the mythology of Chiron quickly. So, Chiron was born to Kronos, the god Kronos or Saturn, and to the sea nymph Perithia. So, when he was born, he came out half man and half horse. He had front legs, but his back half was a horse. Well, his mother was horrified and rejected him almost immediately. She abandoned him. So, not long after that, the god Apollo came and took Chiron under his wing and taught him everything Chiron knew about medicines and herbs and healing. And he became famous as a healer. Well, one day he got into a fight with he was a centaur, and he got into a fight with some of the other centaurs. He wasn't like the centaurs. He was actually refined, and, he'd been raised by Apollo. And the other ones were a little bit rowdy, drunk, that kind of thing. And they got into a fight, and he was hit in the thigh with a poison arrow. So no matter how hard Chiron tried, he could not heal this wound at all. And finally, he was given permission by Zeus to trade places with Prometheus, who was also, he was banished to a rock forever for stealing fire from the gods. So he traded places with him and gave up his immortality and was able to finally die. And he was in so much pain. He was ready for that death. Then he became the constellation of Sagittarius, that is represented by the centaur. Okay, so really, Chiron suffered two wounds, not just the one that ultimately caused his death, but the wound of abandonment, the wound of being ashamed of how he came out of the womb, as half animal, half man. There was a shame there. So a lot of people know as soon as I talk about Chiron in their chart and where it is, they know exactly what the wound is. I mean, some wounds are more obvious. A death, an illness, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Some of the wounds that we suffer are very overt and right out there, but some of them aren't. Some of them are a sense of shame or a sense of not really knowing who we are or a lack of self-worth or self-esteem. So, like I said, some people know immediately what where Chiron is in their chart and what that meant for them as the wound. Now remember, it's also our capacity to heal others, because even though Chiron could not heal himself, he healed so many other people, thus the wounded healer, right? So here's an example. Let's say you have Chiron in the fifth house. It is not well aspected. And this isn't for everybody, so don't take this personally, guys. But if, for example, let's say you have Chiron in the fifth and you so badly want children of your own, but you're unable to have biological children. So you take that hurt, that deep wound, and you go start a child care for single parents that can't afford child care. You give big discounts, or you start a foster home, or you foster children that nobody else seems to want, that are abandoned. So that's an example of how we can use our personal wound to heal. Or you have Chiron in the seventh, and for you try so hard to make a relationship work and it never works out for you, but yet you're able to give great advice and counseling to others that are in need, about their committed relationships, and help them. So that's a couple of the ways Chiron works. um, so I'm going to go through the signs briefly. Just remember that Chiron in the signs is not as important as its house position, which I'll be doing next week. And I'm also going to get into Chiron and synastry, how it works out when you have Chiron in a compatibility chart, and what that means for you and for the planet person, what it means for both of you. So if you have Chiron in the sign of Aries, this can be a wounded sense of identity. You might be the champion of the underdog. You are there to champion everyone else, yet you just kind of can't find yourself. There's a bit of an identity crisis there. Now, if you have Chiron in Taurus, this could be a wounded sense of self-worth or self-esteem, and you may know why you have a wounded self-esteem. Or on the other hand, it just may be that subtle thinking, I'm just not good enough. But when you have Chiron and Taurus, you have the ability to help others, to build them up, to build up their self-esteem, to also help them in the material realm. So that's the way Chiron and Taurus would be healing. Now, when you have Chiron and Gemini, there seems to be a wounded sense of communication. Um, you may you may not feel comfortable talking in front of people, especially in public, but you feel like you're not understood. This can also be a wound with a sibling. So the way to heal, though, is Chiron in Gemini is amazing at helping others, giving them advice on how to speak, building them up, saying, hey, you can do this, you can talk, you can communicate, and helping them with that. Now, if you have Chiron in Cancer, this can be a wounded sense of home or family. You may have grown up in a dysfunctional family. You may not really understand your roots. You may never feel really at home in your home, but you're the perfect person to make others feel at home. You are the perfect when there is a sense of hospitality when you have Chiron in Cancer, that you're able to make others feel at home even though you may not. And remember, everybody, these are very general for the signs. Let's keep going. So if you have Chiron in Leo, there is actually the wound is around not really feeling special, not being able to harness the creativity that almost all Leos are born with. They're Their sign is not their sign, but their planet is the sun, you know, and everything in the sun should feel special, right? Well, they have a sense of not really feeling special, but they also have the gift of making others feel amazing, very special. Now, if you have Chiron in Virgo, now this can be a an actual physical problem because Virgo does rule health. But it could also be that you're a hypochondriac or that you're a perfectionist, that you feel like you can never get it right. You could have an eating disorder with your Chiron in Virgo. But Chiron in Virgo is always the first one to come help someone in need, to help them with a diet issue, a health issue. Um, they make great doctors. When I see a chart with Chiron in Virgo or Chiron in the sixth house, the first thing I think is this person is probably in the health field, and if they're not, they should be because as a physical healer, they would be and are amazing. Now, if you have your Chiron in Libra, you could have challenges with boundaries, with codependence. Your wound can actually be in relationships where they haven't worked out for you. But on the other hand, people that have Chiron in Libra make amazing counselors. They actually understand relationships, even if they're not that great at it themselves. So if you have your Chiron in Scorpio, this can be obsessions, jealousies, power struggles. There's a challenge or there's a wound when it comes to these things. But people with Chiron in Scorpio have this understanding of life and death, though. You know, Chiron in Scorpio could have meant an actual physical death or a wound or psychological issues, but these people make amazing psychologists because they understand those deep-seated issues in life. And whether they're able to help themselves or not, they're certainly able to give help to others as far as um, emotional and psychological issues are concerned. If you have your Chiron in Sagittarius, you can be overzealous or tactless. You say things before you think about it. It's like it doesn't go through your brain first. It's not Mercury oriented. You don't think about it first. But the main struggle or the wound is usually in what you really believe in. Where is your faith? There's kind of a struggle with a lack of faith if you have your Chiron in Sagittarius. You know, you may not know what to believe in or who to believe in, or you may not even believe in yourself. But those that have their Chiron in Sag, let me tell you, uh, they are very positive people and they're able to help others with their faith or their beliefs or their struggles with that because they come in and say, oh no, it's all going to be good. It's good. Sagittarius is such an optimistic sign, and this goes for Chiron being there as well. So, although their struggles may be very internal, they're able to help other people with those struggles. If you have your Chiron in Capricorn, you could have issues regarding responsibility. The wound could be too much responsibility, not enough responsibility. This wound could also be growing up too fast, having to take care or have responsibility for other people before you really have a chance to grow up. It's kind of like the lost child. You don't really have a childhood sometimes, but they're also amazing at helping other people reach their goals. They encourage others to reach their own goals or to take responsibility for themselves. They're good at pushing people in the right direction in hopefully a subtle way. Okay, if you have your Chiron in Aquarius, you may have friends or struggles with friends. You may have been deeply wounded by someone you considered a friend to you, or you could also have problems identifying with the group dynamic. Just honestly, just not fitting in, or the feeling that you don't fit in. But these people with Chiron in Aquarius are super humanitarians. You know, these are the best at being encouraging others to be themselves, encouraging others to go their own way and be themselves, even if they're not that great at it themselves. And then we have Pisces. So Pisces, Chiron and Pisces can actually be a wound in the soul where you have a wounded spirit. And a lot of times I think people that have Chiron and Pisces don't really understand the wound until they're older. But you may have a lot of guilt, fear, a lack of compassion, too much compassion. But at the end of the day, these are the same people that are trying to save the world. These are the people that really do bestow compassion on other people, even though they may not feel that themselves. You know, they want to save the lost soul, even if they kind of have a problem with their own, right? So a lot of times, y'all, it's not until we have our Chiron return at the age of 50 when we really understand the wound of Chiron and the healing that we can bring to others and to ourselves. So it takes that long to circle around. It touches everything in our chart before it gets back to itself again. Now, I promise to tell you a secret, and this is one of them. This is the one I found the coolest. Okay, so Chiron is half man and half animal. And he's also known as the Rainbow Bridge. Did you know that where Chiron is in your chart may be your ability to communicate with animals? Is that not so cool? I just loved it. So think about that one. But here's another cool one for you. Okay, look at the degree of Chiron in your chart. And I've found this to be true over and over and over again, that a lot of times the degree corresponds with the age when the wound or the hurt came about for you. Now, if it's 0 or 1, sometimes this could have been a struggle at birth where maybe your mother had problems. Maybe your mother died at birth. You know, this could be a lot of things. I'm not going to throw too much out there, but even if you have it in really lower numbers like 1, 2, or 3, usually there was something that happened, an illness, a death, something that happened that causes wound in your spirit or in your soul or even in your body. Y'all, thank you so much for listening to this first part of Chiron. I can't wait to talk about the houses. We're going to get just a little bit deeper into the houses and aspects, and then the next one will be in the synastry chart. If you would like to book a reading, I would love to look at your Chiron for you. You can see that in the notes below. Everyone on Team Soul Navigation is a phenomenal astrologer. So please like, comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.